The day I came home to find my belongings thrown on the street wasn't the day I discovered my landlord was a monster. It was the day I discovered monsters get comfortable when nobody fights back, and I was about to become his worst nightmare. My name is Clary Bennett, and the man who thought he could destroy a single mother because she asked for basic repairs just learned what happens when you pick on someone with nothing left to lose and everything to fight for. I'd been renting from Marcus Hale for 2 years. A small 2-bedroom apartment in a building he owned downtown. The rent was high, but the location was perfect for my daughter Emma's school and my job at the hospital where I worked as a nurse. I was a good tenant, paid on time every month, kept the place clean, never complained. But that changed when the heating broke in January during a cold snap that dropped temperatures below freezing. I called Marcus repeatedly, left messages, sent emails. My daughter was 6 years old and sleeping in 3 layers of clothing because our apartment felt like a freezer. After a week of being ignored, I sent a formal written request citing the lease agreement and local housing codes that required landlords to provide heat. That's when Marcus finally responded. Not with a repair crew, with anger. He showed up at my door yelling about entitled tenants and knowing my place. Said if I didn't like the conditions, I could leave. Said he had a waiting list of people who'd rent without complaining. I stood my ground. Told him I had rights. Told him the lease guaranteed habitable conditions. Told him I'd report him to the housing authority if he didn't fix the heat within 24 hours as required by law. His face turned red. He stepped closer, trying to intimidate me. You're going to regret threatening me. 3 days later, the heat was fixed. I thought I'd won. I was wrong. I'd just declared war on a man who'd been breaking laws for years and getting away with it because people were too scared or too poor to fight back. 2 weeks later, I came home from a 12-hour shift at the hospital exhausted and desperate to see Emma, who my neighbor had been watching. But when I pulled up to my building, my stomach dropped. My furniture was on the sidewalk, my clothes in garbage bags, my daughter's toys scattered across the concrete. And on my door was an eviction notice dated that morning claiming I'd violated the lease by having unauthorized occupants and running a business from the apartment. Both claims were completely false. Emma was on the lease. I didn't run any business. But there it was. A notice saying I had 24 hours to vacate or face legal action. I called Marcus immediately, hands shaking with rage and panic. You can't do this. This is illegal. You need a court order to evict me. He laughed. Actually laughed.
Sue me then.
Oh wait, you can't afford a lawyer, can you? That's what I thought. Your stuff's on the street. You're out. Find somewhere else to leech off. He hung up. I stood there holding my phone, looking at everything I owned thrown out like garbage, and something inside me snapped. Not broke. Snapped into sharp, focused, furious clarity. Marcus thought being a landlord with money made him untouchable. He thought I was just another desperate tenant who'd crawl away quietly. He had no idea who he was dealing with. I called my neighbor to keep Emma for the night. Then I went to the public library and researched every tenant rights law in our state. Found legal aid organizations. Downloaded forms. Took photos of everything. The eviction notice. My belongings on the street. The lease showing Emma was authorized. Bank statements proving I'd paid rent on time for 2 years. I built a case that night fueled by rage and desperation and a mother's refusal to let her daughter become homeless because of a vindictive landlord. If you've ever been kicked when you were down by someone with power, drop a like. This is for everyone who fought back when the world said to stay down. The next morning, I filed an emergency motion with the court for illegal eviction and contacted the state housing authority with a formal complaint. Then I did something Marcus never expected. I started knocking on doors in every building he owned, talked to other tenants, asked about their experiences. And what I found was a pattern of abuse so extensive it was criminal. Broken heat in winter, no hot water for weeks, illegal entry into apartments. Security deposits never returned. Threats, intimidation, retaliatory evictions like mine. Marcus had been doing this for years to dozens of tenants, counting on them being too poor, too scared, or too undocumented to fight back. But I wasn't any of those things. I was angry, educated on my rights, and absolutely relentless. I organized the tenants, helped them document violations, connected them with legal aid. Within 2 weeks, we had 17 formal complaints filed against Marcus with the housing authority. Within a month, a class action lawsuit was forming. And the court? The court ruled my eviction illegal, ordered Marcus to pay my moving costs and 3 months' rent as damages, and issued an injunction preventing him from retaliating further. But I wasn't done. Not even close. I reported Marcus to every relevant agency. Building inspections, fire marshal, IRS for unreported rental income I discovered. Each investigation uncovered more violations. His properties failed safety inspections, had unpermitted construction, owed thousands in back taxes. The city began fining him daily for code violations he'd ignored for years. Before this ends, hit subscribe and comment telling me if karma hit hard enough. Your support means everything. 6 months after Marcus threw my belongings on the street, I watched him stand in court as a judge ordered the seizure of 3 of his properties for unpaid fines and safety violations. Watched his face turn gray as the housing authority revoked his landlord licenses. Watched him lose everything because he thought he was above the law. He saw me in the courthouse hallway afterward. Tried to approach me. You destroyed my life. I looked at him with zero sympathy.
No, Marcus.
You destroyed your own life by breaking laws and abusing people for years. I just made sure you finally faced consequences. 1 illegal eviction ruined me. 1 illegal eviction made you visible. The decades of violations ruined you. 2 months later, Marcus declared bankruptcy. Lost every property. Emma and I moved into a beautiful apartment with a landlord who actually follows the law. And I became a tenant rights advocate, helping others fight back against landlords like Marcus. My name is Claire Bennett. This is how my landlord illegally evicted me, and I responded by taking every property he owned using the same laws he thought didn't apply to him. He threw my life on the street thinking I was powerless. He learned the hardest way possible that knowledge, documentation, and refusing to be silent is the most powerful weapon against abuse.